right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the studio, joined by Emo Randy. What's up, buddy?
Hey, you know, it was like 43 degrees when I got outside today. So
he's got a nice beanie on today.
I keep my ears warm.
Very, very emo today. Very nice, very nice. Got the beard, bringing the beard back.
What just winter. I mean, come on, man. It's protection from the cold.
True.
We live in a desert, and I hate the cold. So.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're here, from Chicago area.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just in Chicago.
You were.
And listen, everything you see, it's crime. And I mean, obviously I wasn't on the outer skirts, but like the inner city of the downtown was awesome, dude. It was all like dialed in for Christmas. And it looked like a movie set.
It does. And
there's people walking.
Did it snow while you're there?
Neiman Marcus walking out, Rolex. And, you know, like, I'm like, okay, this looks like, I have never been to New York City. I'm assuming it's pretty similar to this.
The only thing I've never been to New York either, but the confirmation left and right that I've always gotten was just the fact that Chicago seems like a cleaner city because the alleys. So the trash doesn't end up in the streets. It's always behind everything. Oh. So just when you're walking down New York, everything's right there in front of you.
Oh, I could see that. So and all the rats jumping in through, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just, you know, another personal thing to be a Chicago fan. It's nice when I'm there.
Hey, if I'm going to pick between the two, I'm going Chicago, honestly.
And deep dish pizza.
But I might switch to go to Boston, though. I like Boston.
That's another one on my list. I'm a big U.S. history buff, so that's a cool visit.
Very cool. All right, so let's jump into this, guys. We got a great episode today, and you know, this kind of stems from conversations I have sometimes with guys in the Iron Circle, and we're talking about, you know, what our goals are and like what are we striving for. And everybody here listening, you should have goals. Obviously, if you haven't set your 2024 goals, I think it's a great time to do it. But doing it a little differently. So I fall into this trap all the time. I'm always looking out ahead, never looking back.
Yeah.
And I'm always focused on what I haven't made or gotten to yet, which is a good kind of like urgency type of thing, keeps you motivated. But sometimes it gets you bummed out.
Absolutely.
And it's a mindset shift when kind of fell into the story of The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. He's really like, yeah, that's a trap because you could always be like, man, I'm not there yet. Or, gosh, I came up short. But what he's really trying to tell you to do is focus and look back a year. Look back where you were a year ago. And I just did that before this call. I'm like, man, a year ago, I hadn't done that big land transaction yet. I mean, it was in the works, but like even a year ago today in December to December, we didn't do it yet. It wasn't there yet. So if I look at that, I'm like, dude, yeah, absolutely running circles around people. But I look at it, it's like, man, I just, you know, there's so much more that I want to do. And so the key to this thing is so you don't focus on the negative, right? It's almost focused on the positive. It's called the gain. You're focused on what you've gained, not the gap between where you are now and what you want to be.
And you know, that carries over. I think that's a big reason why a lot of speakers, entrepreneurs, you know, those kind of like leading always remind people to have gratitude. Gratitude is one of those things that when you're in a place of gratitude,
right,
you can't be in a negative mindset. You know what I mean? Like it forces you to kind of like be humbled, be where your feet are, if you may. Look at what you've been able to create. So that constant reminder, like that's the daily gratitude journal. That type of mentality is, hey, while we're future focused and while we still strive for what's coming next, you can't forget about how far you've come.
Yeah.
And it's a huge thing. So I think that daily, like that's the reason, like even your success journals or your daily trackers, things like that, always have that gratitude moment.
I think a really easy thing for you to do is, and you can do this in your CRMs and your bank accounts and stuff, just snapshot a year ago. What was in your accounts? How many members did you have? What was your revenue per month? Like look at a year ago. It's so simple to do. And then you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, over the last 12 months, we've grown at, you know, whatever, $150,000 over 25%. Excuse me. Or whatever. Yeah, just getting over that Chicago.
It's a rough time of year in the desert, that's for sure.
Golly. Yeah, no, I got this. I took this back from Chicago.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, absolutely. Just take a look back. Now, what's really crazy in our Iron Circle calls, in our coaching calls too, is hearing the best years and the best months of all time happening repetitively over and over, different members month after month, year after year. And these are not new gym owners. These are gym owners in the game for 12 years, 15 years. And then this is the year they broke through.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm thinking about a couple of guys in Kentucky that we work with, Iron Circle members, Scott and Matt. They came on board in our Nashville summit.
Yeah.
And we came out there and they joined the Iron Circle.
A year and a half or so.
And we immediately jumped on some systems, some automations, some price changes, and kind of focused on semi-private and a lot of the things that we really put our flag in the ground, really believe in. And they had a great operation. In fact, they were, well qualified to join the Iron Circle back then. But at the end of their first year in the Iron Circle, they had a record year.
Mm-hmm.
Never had done it before. And then now, again, this year, they had another record year. And I just kind of like, hey, what was that one thing that you did 2 years ago? Just as a joke. But at the end of the day, listen, guys, if you think about the growth that you've had, or maybe you're not having, maybe you're sitting there, I'm the same.Maybe you're the same every year. You've got to make a change, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, there is a ceiling in all of these operations. You're only going to get to a certain point, and then we're talking like fractional growth or fractional decay because you can get too big too fast, and you can get too big to where you can't sustain it as well. It's a whole nother episode if we really want to talk about it. But gratitude, yes, we're at the end of the year. We're at the end of 2023 right now, right?
Yes.
Jeez. Just look at where you were a year ago. Look at where you were 2 years ago. Look at where you were when you first opened your gym. If you really want to feel good, hell,
dude. How many people have come to us and like their goal is $10,000 a month,
right?
That's
a great goal.
Phenomenal when that's what it takes, to pay cover base operating expenses, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But to sit on the other side and be at the 60, 70. What'd you do? 140 last month? $143,000 last month. Like that. That's not the same game.
No,
it's not the same lifestyle opportunity. All of that stuff. Another gym owner that I just talked to, our buddy Brandon in Florida.
Yes.
Right. He said that in 2019 was their previous highest, best year ever. And they crossed that number here in November already. And at the time they had 2 gyms. They're doing more revenue in one facility in 11 months than they did in 2 facilities in 12. Think about that, guys. Like
that's perfect. That's the game.
Exactly. There's so many things that we could talk about, like the clarity, the convenience, like the value per hour spent in that business is exponential what it was back then. You're not spread between 2 different facilities trying to manage and all of the headaches that come with twice the operation. You've eliminated all of that, and you've put more money in the bank in 11 out of 12 months. That to me is like as good as it gets.
That is as good as it gets.
In the 4 walls. Yeah.
Holy moly.
That's incredible,
man. So I guess if you looked at the one location, probably doubled since 2019. If you think about it, more than doubled.
Something, yeah.
Unless the other, he probably didn't close the good one, so he probably So he probably is more than double since 2019. And I would tell you that a lot of us were having our best years in 2019. Mm-hmm. The fitness industry was at its peak. Speaking with Chris Poirier over at Perform Better, they had their record year in 2019. So like more gyms were opening, more equipment was getting purchased, more people were coming to the summits. And for gyms to be beating 2019 numbers, like crushing.
Yeah.
We crushed ours. We had our second best year in business in 14 years this year. Second best. Pretty freaking awesome.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, how much more can you get out of a gym? In like what we've done is optimize particular things. Can we keep those clients an extra 2, extra 3 months? Can we get the rates a little bit higher? Can we get that extra couple members? Can we, whatever it is, there's all these optimization points.
Well, you mentioned the one thing that's in there that, once you get to a record month or a record year, retention could be the greatest focus.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because it's not just the money that's coming in, right now. It's keeping that client for as long as possible. Let's sustain the business that we've created. You know what I mean? And so to that point, the optimization isn't always how do I get the next person through the front door? And that's the reason I think that Tim and I are always hell-bent on, guys, the systems in your operation can do more for you than the next lead generation campaign or the
way more.
Because half of those gyms that we worked with for years, it ended up becoming a revolving door. You're so focused on the front end revenue and the next client coming through the door, you don't realize the 3 that just left.
That's the truth. And I'll tell you one thing, guys. It's very easy to lose 5 clients, 6 clients, 8 clients in a day or in a week. It's really hard to put 8 new people in the gym in a day.
Hell yeah.
It's just interesting how that works. I will tell you that things come in waves. As long as I've been in this business, it's huge highs and huge lows. But just know, like when you're on that low, the next high is right around the corner. It just always is.
Mm-hmm.
Your low right now could be losing a coach, but then you get a brand new coach that's even better. You could have had a rash of cancellations, but then a whole bunch of signups are coming right behind it. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
You just can't get caught up in the highs and the lows. And that entrepreneurial scars episode is like perfect case in point there. You've done this before.
Yeah.
You got through it last time. So, here we are coming to the close of 23. Go back and have gratitude on how far you've come. Like I said at the very beginning, I have a hard time doing that until somebody forces me to do it.
And to the contrary, the other side is equally as important. Look back, and if you haven't created something new, if you haven't reached your goals, if you haven't accelerated the business to the next level, is it a coaching program that is right for you? Do you need mentoring? What about the business? Look at the business as a whole and try and fill the gaps, right? Plug some of those holes in the systems, figure out what you need in order to get to that next level. But you've got both, hopefully you're here and you have the ability to say, all right, cool. It's been a great year. Look how far we've come.
Yep.
But if you're not in that seat, if you don't have that ability, this is where the onus shifts back to you, and you've got the ability to go and look internal and say, all right, we didn't do what we could have done, or we haven't created that level of growth that we desire. What is it going to take in order to do so? Perfect endings point, right? If you're just going to sit there and not change anything, guess what happens at the end of 24? You're going to be in the same spot again. And that's the worst thing. That's the worst feeling. That's probably worse than, I don't know, not hitting your goal, like, you know what I mean? Like getting close or something like that. Like I could not imagine year after year being in that cyclical seat.
Years ago we were there. I mean, a lot of gyms go through that where you're just like status quo and you're not in a lot of pain, or you just don't know how to get out of it. That's the other problem. A lot of gyms don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know that there's help out there. There's coaching programs, there's model changes, shifts, all kinds of stuff that we've done with gyms. And look, guys, we've helped everybody from these large group training gyms to guys just getting out of their garages into regular facilities to private studios for 40 years doing the same thing and trying to shift them into a better model.
We have athletic sports performance, youth sports performance. We've had big box gyms with a training component.
Yeah.
Even like Dell's story, he in Anytime Fitness, 90% of that revenue was just monthly memberships when he started. Now we've shifted all of that to his training model. Yep. is carrying the weight of the business and the revenue, and that's the sweet spot, right? So there's so many options you have available, so many levers you could pull in the business. But to Tim's point, if you don't know what you can do in order to make those changes, you have to seek advice. You have to seek help from somebody who's done it, who's doing it, be in the right circle. Mm-hmm. That's where those ideas and that knowledge is going to come from. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, that hopefully will get your wheels turning a little bit, get you coasting into the end of the year here, thinking back where you've come. And if, like Randy said, if you haven't made the changes, you know who to call. That's it for this episode, guys. Until next time, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
All right. And thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. And when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.